Hello, hello. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Saturday. I'm so glad to be here, and I am so glad that you are too. Thank you for joining me, tuning in, and wow, I have had quite the busy morning. Woo! So I want to talk about safety because wow, I have been working on this concept, like up leveling my awareness and understanding of where my safety comes from. Okay, and so if you're anything like me, you have had a certain understanding of where your safety comes from. And if you're anything like me, you're questioning, where does my safety come from? And it comes up in different moments, right? In some moments, you have like a clear understanding, and then in other moments, you're like, wait a minute, what is going on? So safety is just one of those trigger points for almost everyone that I've ever met, for sure, that is that gets poked in various different ways. And you have such a great opportunity to learn more and more and have greater and greater understanding of where your safety truly comes from. So I was at coffee shop this morning. Is the thing I love to do on Saturdays, and it's such a great time to just get out and be cozy at the coffee shop, have a favorite drink of mine. I'm currently drinking tea as I've eliminated all caffeine from my diet. And I go to pay, right? And I'm working this morning on a couple of different things. So I'm using my business card. Sorry, I'm like, what card was I using? My business card, and it gets declined. And I'm like, that's so weird. Run it again. There's definitely money in there. And she's like, no, it got declined again. And I'm like, what the heck? I just moved money around, and I know there's a big chunk of change in there. So she was like, well, are you traveling? And I'm like, I am, but not, I've been here for a hot minute. So no, there should be no problems whatsoever. So I said to her, wow, I have no idea. Gave her a different card, and I'm like, I'll have to check that out because I know there's money in there. So I go about my business, and then I remember, oh, I should really check on that, right? I was thinking nothing of it, that there's any problem whatsoever. So I pop open my app, my banking app, and sure enough, whoa, all the money is gone from my account. And I'm just staring at the phone wait a minute, what? I'm so confused right now. It's that moment of awareness where you're like, I know for sure I put the thing right here, and now it's gone, and I have no idea how that happened. Yes, that was my moment of just looking at the phone wait a minute, I know, because I put a big chunk of change in my account, and now there's $5 in there, which was legitimately not actually even enough to cover my coffee and my little snackies that I got at the coffee shop. So it was such a great moment after I definitely freaked out. Sort of that just startled response, right? If you've ever been in that situation where you're just startled, surprised, and what the heck is going on? That was me for a hot minute at the coffee shop. And then I sort of, deep breaths, contacted somebody and started the process for filing a claim of essentially, I was like, wow, I've been robbed. And it's such a visceral experience when you think about it, I've been robbed, right? Even though it's virtually, literally, it's that feeling of somebody went into your purse and took out thousands of dollars and was like, oh, I'm out of here. So once I relaxed, I was like, oh, this is so interesting, because I've literally been learning about where does my safety truly come from, right? And so in my conversations with my coach over this last year, I have been learning this concept at new levels Because when you're in business for yourself, you're not getting handed money, right? You're creating money on your own. And so it's a whole different experience, and it feels different. I mean, just on every level, it feels completely different than being handed money by another outside entity. So I've needed to up-level my understanding of where does my safety come from and not see it as something that's external to me. Because it's so easy to get lost in that, right? And we might know it, but we don't like know it here, right? So then when so I have this moment and I'm like, wow, this is one of those moments where life has brought this experience to its happening, where I get the opportunity to really understand my safety does not come from what's in my bank account, which again is literally what I've been learning. I just love how life shows up like that and just is like, let me really help you learn this concept like in every possible way that I can secure it for you. And had I had this experience like 6 months ago, I would not be able to pop on and share it with you today because I would still be freaking out. So, of course, I'm with a bank that's insured and they're, going to do the processing and get the money back to me. So I also don't need to be freaking out. But I would say 6 months ago, I would have been freaking out and continued to feel that freaking out and like WTF. But I'm really not. And it was so interesting. Like within about an hour, I had settled back down into my body and was like shaking off that energy of like I was just robbed, right? And I was just like, okay, I'm totally fine. I'm actually totally fine, which is incredible feeling to be like, yeah, no, my safety really doesn't come from what's in my bank account. As much as I've spent so many of my years securing what's in my bank account and or the supply, right, from where my money was coming from before, and the level of investment that I had in staying at the job that I was at before, even though I was utterly miserable, but because they were handing me this huge chunk of change every couple of weeks, it had me so tied into them. You've heard the phrase probably, the golden handcuffs. That was how it felt because I was miserable, but I was like, I gotta stay here because it makes so much sense to stay here. So again, seeing my safety, of course, this is not like consciously, right? This is the stuff that happens in your brain where you're not consciously thinking about it, but it's the underpinnings of what our mind is telling us. And so having that belief, like I need to stay here because this makes sense, right? So the deeper layer there is, this is where my safety comes from, is in this job that's handing me this money, right? Or my safety comes from my savings account and this big chunk of change that I have been busting my butt to save over the last, 20 years and securing it in the belief that it would bring me my safety, right? Like, oh, I can take this next step. And I completely had this thought several years ago when I did leave that job where I became miserable. And I had a huge chunk of change in my bank account and was like, cool, I feel totally safe now. I can absolutely take the next right step for me and leave this job. But again, when you're really getting in there, where was I placing my safety? Absolutely in that money in my savings account, right? And I can actually now see that with clarity because I'm where I am now and I've been doing so much of my own inner work to get even more, right, to up-level my own understanding of where my safety truly comes from. And I'm able to be more honest about, yeah, actually my safety was coming from that entity was handing me a paycheck. And I also was in the safety that the bank account was holding my money and would be available to give it to me when I wanted it. And so today, able to really, truly stay, no, the safety comes from inside of me. That's where my safety is. It doesn't come from the employer that's handing me money, and it doesn't come from my savings account and the money that's in my savings account. Mind-blowing. So where does your safety come from, right? If it doesn't come from the places that most people operate from, believing where it comes from, right? Now, I'm not saying you believe this consciously, and that it would be your answer if I asked you, where does your safety come from? Because most people don't believe, like consciously, that their safety comes from the money they have in the savings account, but you might. And so this addresses either person, right? Like, I know in my previous life, the answer would be like, that my safety comes from God, right? But when it really comes down to that strand of conversation, and I would be talking to someone and they would say like, oh, well, I'm miserable in my job, or I'm miserable in my marriage. And I would say, well, then why don't you do something radical to get out of that situation so that you're no longer miserable? Oh, no, I definitely couldn't do that. And I'm like, well, I don't get it, because if your safety is in God, then you should be able to take that next step. God doesn't want you to be miserable, right? So I'm just giving that as an example because that's a very, very common conversation that I have had with lots of people who are fearful of taking the next step, right? And then for those of you who are like, yeah, my safety does come from my bank account and how much it's in there. Love the honesty and the realness. Okay, so here's the thing. Safety comes from inside of you. Safety comes from inside of you. Your trust in yourself, your trust in the divine, right? The God that is inside of you. You're being one with the divine, one with God. That's where your safety comes from knowing who you are, right? So it's your identity, another way of saying it. It's knowing who you are. Such that if you were to lose the job, right, or lose the marriage, or lose whatever else is the thing that you hold so dear, money in the bank account, whatever it is, right, here in earth, on, the concrete things that we hold so tight to, even if you were to lose that, right, the safety has to come from here. Because when we lose the things here outside, we go dark. We go dark. We go fearful. We go inward, and we go small. And life feels like it's not worth continuing. It feels confusing. I can remember multiple conversations over the years with clients around not trusting God anymore when they would lose something here in the world, right? Something concrete in the world. They would go dark on God. Like, how could God do that to me? How could he let that happen? I feel like I can't trust God anymore. So that comes about because you've been taught that God is like out here, right? And you have, I know for me, it was like this like confused sense of who God was and how he engaged in the world and how he functioned in the world. When you understand that God is actually inside of you, right? That we're spiritual beings having a human experience, when you really, really, really understand that, and let me be real, I've only come to understand that in the last couple of years here at this new level, right? Just to be clear, at this new level, to really understand that he's here, that I'm in oneness, that my identity is such that I know that God is in me and that God has empowered me to be able to take care of my needs, every single one of them. He's gifted me with a mind, an intellect, a capability of taking care of all of my needs, regardless of what crazy things may happen out here in the world. Okay, so it reminds me of the story of Job, actually, from the Bible, as I'm just saying all of this out loud. I have a little bit of a different perspective on the way that most people have heard or been told the story of Job, but essentially it's the same thing, is having that real, true understanding and knowing that safety comes from within us. It's an internal experience. So why is this important, right? Similar to what I was saying, it's like when you believe it's outside of yourself, you're easily, you easily lose that sense of confidence when that thing gets removed. And you're making decisions in such a way that you're always factoring in this particular realm of safety, right? So if there isn't money in the bank account, your mind wants to say, oh, I can't afford that, or I can't buy that thing because I don't have the money in the bank account, right? And so that reveals where your safety lies, is because your decision is getting made with regards to what is in the bank account. Ooh, yeah, right? That is, woo! Check that one out. So it's the same, and people have various things. I'm just talking about money because my money just got taken. So it could be, family, it can be your job, it can be your kids. There are so many different things that people place their hope in. Again, when you really get honest and strip back, and you don't reveal, if I lost all of this, I would still be okay. Again, I'm not saying you wouldn't be upset and you wouldn't be sad and you wouldn't be pissed, depending on the circumstances, but like a deep sense of knowing within you, I am okay no matter what gets taken or what gets lost from me. That's why it's important. Okay, so let me send you off here with how to cultivate trust, how to cultivate safety, greater awareness and greater understanding of safety for yourself, right? Because here I am, I have been a person that would say my safety came from God for many years, and now you hear me saying, wow, I've only really understood that my safety comes from God within me, comes from me in the last couple of years. What? Help me understand this. So for you, trusting yourself is this deep knowing that if you lose what is lost, you will be deeply okay, 100%, because you know you have the ability, the gifting, the knowing that you can create again. That you will be okay and that you can create again if that is what you desire and or if it is what you need, right? So like money, we all need money. So it's like this deep knowing that because I am one with God and I have this creative intelligence inside of me that can recreate money with ease, right? I'm not like, oh my gosh, all of this work I've got to put into it. No. I've learned a completely new way to make money. Being able to create with ease. Being able to create from a sense of trust, a sense of knowing, a sense of rest. So for you to take a look at your own life and ask, where does my sense of safety come from? Right? And perhaps you've lost things that can help you gain better clarity, right? And you see like those places where you feel hurt and wounded, and it's like, oh, I lost that. I lost my business. I lost my promotion. I lost my job, my family, like whatever the thing is that you might be feeling that feeling about, and again, there's no judgment. It's just an awareness. Like, oh, that's a place where I was really putting my safety, my trust in that as long as I had that, I would be okay, right? And or if you're like not feeling confident in who you are right now, or confident that you can get the thing that you deeply want in your life, whatever that thing is, like what is that thing that you really want right now? And if you don't have a deep level of confidence that says, I can absolutely make that happen, well, then you just know that you don't have that level of trust and safety within your own self. Which means you need to get it, right? So I will close us out with saying this is literally the work that I help people do. I help them truly learn at the deepest of levels where your safety comes from, and then I help you cultivate it like crazy such that you know it at this level. You lose the money or you don't have the money and you're like, I'm pressing forward because I know where my safety comes from, right? Okay, so if you desire help, right? You desire this kind of guidance and wisdom, and you like want somebody to help you, to mentor you, to move you forward in the direction that you desire to go, reach out to me. You can drop a comment here, or you can pop over to the messenger, Facebook Messenger, and send me a message and just say, hey, I saw your video this morning and like, whoa, please send me a link to book a call with you because I need a deeper level of safety. I need to know that I am safe no matter what goes on in my world. Or, oh, wow, I recognize I had my safety in this thing and now it's gone and I can't get that feeling back of I'm going to be okay. I am okay and I want it. And we will get there together. Okay? It is the thing I do. I love doing it. It's my gifting. And I would love to share more with you. All right, you guys, as always, thank you for showing up here with me. It has been fabulous to spend time with you. And from now to when I see you next, go do that thing that your heart truly desires to do. And I will talk to you soon.